Hi guys, welcome back to another quick video. Today I'm going to be ranking on a tier list the films of Nicolas Winding Refn. So this is a director that I've been trying to get through his films a bit lately. I finally got around to seeing Fear X most recently, which was, well, I saw it a couple of weeks ago now, but that was the last one I had to see before I could rank all of his movies. So now I've seen all 10 of his feature films. I will put them on a tier list. So I'm not a huge fan of this director overall. Like, I think his movies, for the majority, are very slow paced and methodical and very visually driven rather than through dialogue, which is fine. But sometimes it can be to its fault, I think, because some of his films are just too artsy and slow and almost boring in a lot of cases, unfortunately. But he does have a unique visual flair that he's developed, and there are some of his movies that I am quite impressed with. So we'll just get straight into it. So this is in no particular order, but we have Fear X first. So being the most recent film of his I've seen, it's the most fresh in my memory. And this movie was a little better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't love it or anything, but I did enjoy it for the most part. I think mainly just because it was better than I thought it was going to be. It's not a great film, though, by any means. I'm going to put it in the C tier. Yeah, John Turturro was good in the film. It was a very slow burn kind of thriller, but it also wasn't as dreamlike or artsy as some of his more recent stuff, but it was okay. It had a fairly simplistic story of a mall security guard who's trying to figure out his wife's murder that happened like months earlier and solve the case himself pretty much. And it was one of his earlier movies, but it was pretty good for his early run. I wasn't really a huge fan of any of his early stuff, but Fear X is probably my favourite of his first 5 films, I'd say. So after that, we have the Pusher movies, so I'll put them all together and do them together. So I'd heard a lot about these films, but I hadn't gotten around to seeing them until about 6 months ago, so I was pretty excited to see them. And unfortunately, I wasn't like a huge fan of any of them, really. I thought they got better as they went on. Like, the third film's probably my favourite of the trilogy, then the second one, then the first one. But overall, I wouldn't actually even put any of them higher than Fear X, to be honest. So I'm going to chuck them all in the C tier, but I'll put Pusher 3, then 2, then 1. I did enjoy number 3 the most. I didn't really like all that much about the first 2. There was enough in it, though, to keep it out of the bottom tier of this list for me. But yeah, I think the trilogy got better as it went on, but it's still, by the end, it wasn't like anything that impressive, and I wouldn't really recommend the films to anybody unless they were really into this director and hadn't seen them, because a lot of people do love them, but for me personally, I just couldn't get into them too much. But there's still enough there to keep them out of the D tier at least, but yeah, I can't see myself going back to them anytime soon. Next we have Valhalla Rising from 2009. This seemed like it was going to be a really cool movie. It's a Viking film with Mads Mikkelsen, who's a great actor. And visually the film's great, like, it looks amazing, but the movie is just so boring. Like, it's only like an hour and a half long, but there's like a couple lines of dialogue pretty much in the whole film. The story is very basic and simplistic. It takes a long time to get anywhere. By the end of the film, you kind of feel like nothing really has happened, and like, yeah, the movie looks beautiful, it's well acted, but there's no point to it. And I'm getting over movies lately that just kind of meander and get nowhere, even if it's a good looking movie or well acted. Like, that's besides the point. Like, a film has to have some level of entertainment to it. And I'm not talking about some big Michael Bay Transformers explosive kind of film, because I'm not into that either, but like, some of his movies just have nothing really to them that jumps out at me, other than the visuals. So for the visuals and performances, or performance alone, I'm going to put it in the C tier as well, but in between Fear X and the Pusher trilogy. So obviously, so far you can see that I'm not a huge fan of his work. Next we have Only God Forgives. Now, I've only seen this movie once, and it was around the time that it came out. I remember thinking how amazing it looked. It's probably one of the best and most memorable visual films I've ever seen. Like, it looks great. And I might have to watch this movie again, because I just remember not liking it at all, other than the visuals. Kind of similar to Valhalla Rising, where it's impressive visually, performance-wise as well. But other than that, I didn't find that it had much to offer in any means that was that gave it any rewatchability or anything to me. Yeah, I don't know. For me, at the moment, it's another C tier film. So I'll put it in there, yeah, just with the other C tier films for now. It is more visually striking than the Pusher films, though, and Valhalla Rising, so I'll chuck it up in there. But yeah, it's probably the one I actually have to rewatch, because a lot of these other ones I've seen like within the last year. So next up we have Bleeder. So this movie, I didn't know anything about this one. It's an early film that he made. I'm pretty sure it has, I think, 2 or 3 storylines going on throughout it, but it was a lot more of a memorable film for me than any of these films in the C tier. Quiet, buddy. Yes. So, Bleeder, it was a good movie. I actually liked this one. This is the first one I can say out of these films so far that I like. I don't love it or anything, but I am going to put it in the B tier. It had more memorable characters and scenarios and situations and things like that. It was quite a dark film, but it was a little more entertaining than these C tier movies. I would recommend it. It's probably one of his lesser known films. I think it was only his second movie he made after the first Pusher film, and he used a lot of the same actors in that he has in the other trilogy. But it is a better film in my opinion. I actually enjoyed that one, so it's in the B tier. And next up we have The Neon Demon. So this was another one that I enjoyed. This is his most recent film, but it came out in 2016, so he hasn't actually released a movie since then. But I did enjoy this film enough to also put in the B tier, so I'll put that one probably above Bleeder. It's another one that's like his most recent 3 or 4 or 5 films are really beautiful to look at, and The Neon Demon is another one that looks incredible. Great performances. Elle Fanning is a really good actress. You got a small performance from Keanu Reeves as well in a strange role. But overall, the movie is actually pretty entertaining, even though it's very artsy and out there as well. The movie pays off a little more, and you have a bit more fun with it. And it's a very dark movie at the same time, but it's definitely not as much of a slow burn, I think, as some of these other ones. So it makes it more entertaining to watch and more interesting. So it was good. I'm going to put it in the B tier. So next up we have Drive. So this is the film that he's probably most known for, kind of the movie that really got his name out there, from 2011, and another one that stars Ryan Gosling. And this is easily his best film. Most people will say that anyway, but I agree. It's an S tier movie. It's the only film of Refn so far that I think is excellent. Like, all of his other films kind of just okay or average, but Drive is an excellent movie. I didn't like it though when it first came out, because I was quite young and saw it and was expecting some big action film, but it's much more of a slow-paced, slow burn kind of romantic drama thriller film with some heavy action sprinkled throughout. But great performance from Ryan Gosling. Great soundtrack, great visuals, great action scenes and driving scenes and things like that. Yeah, it's an excellent movie, and after rewatching it all these years later, I've really come to love this movie. As you know, if I had kept it where I originally saw it, I probably would have put it in the C tier, but after rewatching it all these years later, I've really come to like it the last few times I saw it, and it's the only one of his films that I have on Blu-ray as well. But yeah, it's a great movie, would highly recommend it. As I said, visuals are great, acting's great, it's entertaining. There's actually some heart and emotion to it, which I can't really say for any of the director's other films. But it is a good movie, and I'm always keen to watch this one, so it's definitely worthy of an S tier. And last but not least, we have Bronson from 2008. This is the only other one that I actually like quite a bit. I'm going to put it in the A tier. So now, on any other director's list, it probably wouldn't be an A tier film, but just comparing it to the other Refn films, it's going to be an A tier because I like it better than the B tier movies, but not as much as Drive. It is visually brilliant as well. It's probably his funniest movie as well. And it's one I've considered getting on Blu-ray, so I actually did like this movie quite a bit, especially after rewatching it more recently. And Tom Hardy is just one of my favourite actors, so he's like endlessly rewatchable in his roles. He's very entertaining and a very good actor. And it's a great earlier performance from him. So yeah, I would recommend watching Bronson as well, but it is a very different kind of film as well. But as I said, it's probably his funniest movie. It's quite dark and violent at the same time, but really visually stunning and good to look at, as well as it's probably his most fast-paced and upbeat kind of film. Like, it doesn't have that slow, methodical kind of burn to it that most of his other movies have, but Anyway, so that's where I'm going to put these movies. So I love Drive, really like Bronson. I thought the Neon Demon and Bleeder were good. However, all the C-tier films I wasn't huge on. As I said, I'll have to probably rewatch Only God Forgives someday. But yeah, so he's very up and down for me. However, I'm always excited to see what he's got to offer. So I'm pretty keen for him to make another movie and see what comes next. So yeah, please, thanks for checking out this video, guys, and please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what your list would be down below. Bye.